Hello, my name is Raj Mistry, and I'm a solution architect at Google working on the Apogee Edge platform. In today's 4-minute video, we're going to talk about Apogee Edge's spike arrest policy per second rate limiting feature. The prerequisites to complete this exercise on your own is to have an Apogee Edge account, and you should also view the 4-minute video about the Apogee API proxy concept. In this diagram, on the left, we have a client that consumes API requests. In the middle, we have Apogee Edge depicted by the red dotted line box, and on the right, we have the backend that serves the API requests. Now, we would implement a spike arrest policy to prevent things like denial of service attacks. For example, if the client is sending too many requests to the backend, we put a spike arrest policy to limit the number of requests that flow through Apogee Edge and onto the target backend. Say, for example, we wanted to limit the number of requests to 2 per second. Another way to say that is 2 requests per 1,000 milliseconds or 1 request per 500 milliseconds. Another consideration is the number of message processors that you have in your Apogee Edge deployment. If you only have one message processor, then you'll be allowed 1 message per 500 milliseconds. If you have 2 message processors, then you'll be allowed 2 requests per 500 milliseconds. To keep the example simple, let's just assume that we only have 1 message processor. And in that case, we only have 1 request per 500 millisecond that is allowed to go onto the backend. Now say you have a bot or some malicious attack that's sending more than 1 per 500 millisecond. In that case, the spike arrest policy in Apogee Edge will get triggered and drop all the additional requests. So the backend is still only seeing 1 request per 500 milliseconds. Let's see how to do this in the Apogee Edge tool. So I've logged into my Apogee Edge account, and I'm going to select my simple Hello World proxy. Now this proxy simply returns Hello World back to the requesting client. And so I'm going to go ahead and click on Develop. And here we'll see the request flow and the response flow that goes through Apogee Edge and onto the backend target service. So what I'll do is I'll first click on the Step button. I'll select the spike arrest policy, and I'll add it to my request flow. You'll see the spike arrest policy was added here. And then you can read the spike arrest policy XML configuration, and you'll see that there are a couple different parameters that we can change. The identifier parameter allows us to change which headers that the spike arrest policy is going to look at and filter. So if we have requests from specific clients, we could specify that here along with the message weight. The most important parameter, however, is the rate parameter. This is the item we change to limit the number of requests that flow through to Apogee Edge and onto the backend. Let's say we only want to allow 1 request per second. So we change it to 1. We go ahead and save this change. And then it's deployed onto the test Apogee server. And then once it's deployed, we can go ahead and trace it to see it in action. So now we're in the trace tool. We'll start a trace session. And we'll go ahead and send several requests quickly to the backend. And you'll see that when it was happening too quickly, more than 1 per second, we got a 500 error, and the request was triggered from the spike arrest policy to not be allowed through to the backend. So that's basically the spike arrest policy in action. Thank you for watching this video. And if you have more questions, you can go to community.apogee.com.